Hi guys, I'm Ebony Lively. My student number is 32903258 and this is my EDN462 assignment called Play-Based Experiences.
So Sam is 4 years old. He attends kindergarten 3 days a week and he comes from a middle-class socio-economic family. Sam has many toys that he plays with on a regular basis at home. So by conducting the learning provocations with Sam, the results provide information on mathematical concepts that Sam understands and those that require further development. By conducting these assessments, we are using assessment for learning. Assessment for learning is the process of gathering and analysing evidence about what children know, can do, and understand. The element that I have chosen to focus on is on counting. Sam has the sound ability to count confidently as he is able to count past 10. According to the kindergarten curriculum, by the end of the year, students are able to use number names in a sequence to count in everyday situations, initially from 1 to 10. Although when Sam is counting objects in a group past the number 12, he skips the items in a collection and he assumes that there is less than what there is. He does not understand the concept of more and less for the larger group of numbers due to not finalizing the element of counting one-to-one correspondence. Therefore, the area for this assessment is one-to-one correspondence. Sam needs to learn about counting objects one by one and learn to not skip over items within a collection. The first experience that I have is Lego buildings. To assist Sam in his one-on-one correspondence, I provided Sam with a chart that has numbers 1 to 15. I asked him to build the numbers in correlation to the number that was provided on the chart. This allowed Sam to recognize that 12 one-blocks equals 12 or 15 one-blocks equals 15. This assisted Sam in his counting abilities, and Sam realized that each Lego piece needed to be counted in order to get the finalized amount. Sam was enthused by this activity as we were building a city and we were trying to find the tallest building in the city. This relates to the kindergarten curriculum as students need to correspond one with a single object, know and match number, name, numerals, and quantities to 3, and sabotage regular arrangements of objects in arrays up to 5. How was this learning experience playful and challenging? Sam loved this activity as he was building towers and playing with Lego. His imagination with Lego is inspiring, and that is why I thought that these Lego buildings would be a great idea. Every time we would have a Lego building that is bigger than the other, he would be thrilled about how large it is getting and how big our city is. He would constantly be expressing his excitement by saying, "Wow, it is getting so big." It was challenging for Sam as he was using his counting abilities to count how many steps/blocks needed to be in each city. When Sam was progressing onto the larger numbers, this is when it became challenging, as he kept on having to start from one block when he was adding on. He couldn't keep counting from the sequence. The larger the tower was, the more challenging it would become. So these are the focus questions and interactions. Sam, can you please count for me the numbers that you see on the chart? Which then Sam would proceed to count the numbers that were visible on the chart. So Sam, if we are building a building of 1, how many blocks are we going to need? He proceeded to say 1. Sam continued to build the buildings up until 5. So how many blocks are we going to need for number 5? We will need 5. So how do you know that? Because for 5, you need 5 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He continued to build all the buildings, although Sam needed to count the buildings out one by one, even when he added another block to a collection. Sam would constantly start the number sequence over. He did not continue adding. For example, after 5, he wouldn't just say 6 when adding another block. He would count to make sure that it was up to the correct block amount. I said, so how many blocks will we need for 12? He proceeded to say we would need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 12. How do you know that? Because it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the chart. So how many Lego blocks? 12. So I believe that this learning experience went quite well. I found that Sam was interested throughout the time present of the activity as we were building cities, and he would be so excited to see how big the last city would be. I believe that this activity worked quite sufficiently. Next time, I would allow him to continue building up the cities. I would also try and reinforce his knowledge that when counting, he can continue from the last number he stopped at instead of counting from the beginning again. Sam has a good understanding of the sequence of counting, although next time I would reinforce his knowledge on other counting strategies and inform him that he can count upwards from the number he stopped at instead of starting the number sequence over again. The second experience was Go Fish Muffin Tin. This activity was called Go Fish. My learning material was made simply from a muffin tin and some paper. I provided paper clips as pretend fish, and inside the muffin tin was cut out mini circles filled with the numbers 1 to 12. This works with Sam on one-to-one correspondence and element of counting. I provided paper clips as pretend fish. I told Sam that we were going fishing and that the number inside the tin informs us on how many fish needed to be collected in each group. This allowed Sam to understand that 12 paper clips or 12 fish equaled 12. By doing this activity with Sam, he understood that when counting items within a group, every item needed to be included in the sequence in order to get the correct amount. This relates to the kindergarten curriculum as it suggests students need to subitize regular arrangements of objects and arrays up to 5, know a matched number, name numerals and quantities of 3, and correspond with a single object. So how was it playful and challenging? This activity was playful as he had to collect fish for the correct amount. Sam had to use his knowledge and understanding to recognize the number shown inside the tin to then place a certain amount of fish in the correct spot. He was using different counting strategies to get that certain amount. The activity was challenging when he got up to the larger numbers, and he had to double check with me to ensure that it was 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, which then I proceeded to tell him to count with me to see if we've got the right amount of fish. So these were the focus questions and interactions. Throughout the time, Sam was rather engaged in the task. He understood that he had to put 1 fish on number 1, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 3, 4 and 4, and 5 and 5. He was developing a good understanding that one item equaled 1 and so forth. Once Sam got to 6, Sam had to start from the beginning to understand that the number he was on was 6 and said, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many fish do we need for this collection? We need 6. Show me 6 on your fingers, and he proceeded to do that. But then he placed 5 fish on the number 6, 10. Are you sure that's 6? Yes, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can we count them together? Together we pointed and counted the amount of fish in the collection. Oh, it is 5. So how many more do you need to get to 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He counted that on his fingers, so he said that he needed 1 more. Sam understood these concepts rather well. He got a handling of the task quite sufficiently. Once Sam got to the larger numbers, he had to count the tin that we were on to realize that we were on 10, 11 and 12. He couldn't quite look at the number 10 and realize that we were on 10 and 11 and 12. He couldn't. When counting these fishes out, he would constantly ask me to double check, is that 10, 11 and 12 fishes? To which I would respond, let's count together and point to each item, and then he would understand if he was right or wrong. So by doing this activity, he learnt the importance of counting each item in a collection to get the right amount. Next time, if I was to repeat this activity, I would pick a certain amount of fish and have him place the amount in the correct spot in order to challenge his understanding and knowledge. This would also make the task more challenging than what it was. I would also have the numbers on the tin larger in order to challenge his counting abilities, as I believe that his counting abilities are quite strong and he understands the sequence of the numbers quite sufficiently. So my third experience was how tall is the tower. Sam is extremely interested in building towers with Lego. I noticed this through the first activity as he was extremely engaged and excited about building Lego. So to continue his learning experiences and to ensure that the learning outcome had been achieved, I decided to have an activity where he could build his own city with cars and Lego men. This meant that he could then distinguish comparisons between the different buildings. This was to see if Sam understood the concept of more and less. This was also to see if he had learnt about counting strategies to distinguish which one had more and which one had less. So to begin this activity, I asked him to build a whole city. I would then ask him questions to further his learning. This related to the kindergarten curriculum as it states that students need to identify groups as being one, more and less data. So how was it playful and challenging? The experience was playful when we were making a whole city out of Lego, which consisted of Lego men and cars everywhere. I was asking him which building was the tallest and had more blocks in comparison to the other one. Sam was continually excited when he could see how many blocks as tall a specific building was. And at the end of the experience, the challenge was to see how many Lego blocks he was tall and how many Lego blocks he would be if he was a building. The answer we got was 54. Sam was thrilled to go and tell his parents how many Lego blocks tall he was. The experience was challenging when he had 2 collections similar in size. Sam had to count the blocks to distinguish which collection had more blocks. Sam managed to count efficiently and properly by pointing at each individual block in the collection. So throughout the period, Sam was extremely interested in finding out the biggest tower and the largest group. I said, Sam, let's build a big city. Can you start building me a city with buildings of different sizes? He said, yes, I can do that for you. How many blocks should I put? I said, it was totally up to you. So he started building his city. I said, wow, there are so many buildings here. Which one has more in the 2 towers? He said, well, this one, because it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what is the other one? He said, yes, it is 1 to 9. So which one has more blocks? Oh, this one, I mean, because it has 1 to 9. How many more blocks does the tall one have? He says, 1, 2. Are you sure you can count? Can you count that again for me? He said, yeah. Oh, I mean 1. I said, how do you know that it has more blocks just by looking at it? He goes, this one is bigger, only by a little bit though. I asked him to point to the tower that had the less blocks out of all of them. I said, which one has less out of all of them, Sam? He said, this one. I said, are you sure? Can you count them for me? He said, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is so tiny out of all of them. I said, which one has the most out of all of them? He said, this one, because it is 1, 2, 3, and counted all the way to 15. And then we did the challenge to see how many blocks he was, and the answer was 54. The questions were quite repetitive during the experience because I was just asking him majority of the time which one had more, how did he know, and questions like that. So from conducting this activity, I found that Sam was enthused throughout the period of time. He was interested in building his own city to then finding the biggest tower or the largest group. Some of the buildings he built kept on falling over due to them being so large and having no balance. Next time, if I was to repeat a similar activity, I would provide him with the objects spaced out on the floor, which enables him to count singularly and within a group to see if his learning was really reinforced throughout the other activities we had done together instead of him counting up a tower. So where to from here? By completing these learning experiences, it allowed Sam to recognise the counting principle of one-to-one correspondence. His learning was assisted throughout the provided activities and he was engaged and motivated throughout the duration of the time. He learnt that 1 equals 1 block / fish and so forth. The next thing that I would do with Sam is teach him that he can continue on a number sequence from where he finished counting instead of starting from the very beginning of the sequence again. For example, starting at 5, next is 6, instead of counting from the beginning of the sequence again, 1, all the way up to 6. I would also have Sam work on his subitizing skills. I would have Sam learn about the numbers shown in number form. Sam understands that there is a number sequence to follow, but he cannot tell me the number, for example, 10, when I point at the number 10 randomly. So subitizing numbers in their number form would be something that needs to be reinforced in Sam's learning. I would have him work on subitizing by using the number itself, which will help him recognize what individual numbers look like, instead of counting from number 1 to establish what number is next. So what did I learn about play-based pedagogy? Play-based pedagogy is a fantastic way to educate children in a fun and motivating way without children feeling the pressure of the specific skill or subject. I build on Sam's skill through inquiry, understanding in the context of problem solving through play, talk and interaction. Sam built on knowledge through the activities I provided him. He was in the comfort of his own home and he was motivated and interested due to playing with Lego. It is paramount to find out what students are interested in to maintain their attention and energy throughout the teaching process. By doing this, students will learn the most, maintain focus, and will be thoroughly engaged. So personal learning. A main thing that I learned through doing these activities is that children can learn so much through play-based activities, and these activities can make such a huge difference to student learning and the way children perceive certain information. By setting up a play-based structured activity in an area that Sam needed working on assisted him in understanding the element of counting one-to-one correspondent, which is a significant skill students need to understand before they move on to the next year. From completing these activities, I learnt that when setting up these playful environments that there needs to be an efficient amount of space where children can learn with no distractions in the way. I learnt that the more interactive activities are, the more students learn and take information in. I also learnt that by conducting play-based learning activities, that it is also paramount to ask questions to further student learning. I learnt that by conducting intentional teaching and the learning is built on the cumulative impact of any often smaller experiences and interactions. It is reinforced in an active learning environment, and the learning materials that are present throughout the duration of the time are very powerful in the rote of their learning experiences. Students are then able to explore the environment and the material present to find out their own information and take on the learning experiences reinforced. Play is very beneficial to student education in the way in which they articulate information in early education. So thank you for listening, and I hope that you can take on these ideas that I expressed throughout this assignment in your own future classroom. Thank you.